Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Joanna Nelson, and we are broadcasting to you live from Santa Fe this morning. And we're really excited about our webinar that we're having today. We're joined by, we're here with Jeanette Gallegos and Carmen Morin from Department of Finance and Administration, and we're really excited to talk about the topic today, and they're going to explain the Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, otherwise known as ICIP. So this topic comes up a lot. There's a lot of questions that come up, so they're going to offer all their expertise and knowledge and share their time with us today. So we're really excited about that. Before we get started, I did want to give you a little bit of background about who we are at the New Mexico Economic Development Department on the Finance Development Team. We host these webinars once a month, at least once a month, and we do a variety of finance topics. And usually they are the last Thursday of the month. This one was a little bit different, but if you don't get the updates through our newsletter, feel free to sign up for our New Mexico Economic Development Department newsletter, and I can send that link out. I do want to mention that this webinar is being recorded, so we'll send the link out. You'll have access to this webinar through our YouTube playlist, and you can access all the previous webinars that we've had in the past and see all the interesting financing topics that we've had. Last month we spoke with MNERD. They talked about the state's renewable energy projects, the funding that's available. We highlighted our programs. We've talked to Department of Transportation, NMFA, so a whole slew of really interesting topics. But here at the finance team, we do a variety of things. We provide a variety of services, including financial packaging. We play matchmaker. Communities and businesses contact us, and we connect them to funding opportunities. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. Our services are free. We can also provide tax incentive analyses for a business in your community. They might have a project that they're looking into, and we can get we can provide feedback on all the different tax incentives that are available to them. And then we do manage our programs, and that includes the Local Economic Development Act, otherwise known as LEDA, our Fund It program, New Markets Tax Credits, New Mexico Credit Enhancement Program, the Rural Efficient Business Program, and the new Opportunity Zone. So all of these programs we manage in our division, our team, and we'll get into those, but if you have any questions, reach out to us. Did want to just briefly go over Fund It, because this is a really good tool when your community has infrastructure projects, when it has economic development projects. This is an informal group that we get together quarterly, and we hear projects across the state from communities on a regular basis. So communities are able to present to our group, to Fund It, their projects, and that group consists of all the funding entities in the state. So that's federal, that is state, and they are able to get direct feedback from those different entities. So the community presents their project, and there they can participate on this platform and get brainstorming ideas. They can have direct contact with the funders. So we also have the COG directors and our New Mexico Economic Development reps there. So not only are you connecting with the funders, but you're getting direct feedback and experience from those people that are participating. So it's a really good opportunity to find funding. We want to help you find funding to complete these projects, because as we all know, ICIP capital outlay usually does not provide 100% of a project financing. There's usually other components that need to be funded through other sources. So use Fund It. We also have some other resources. We have a New Mexico resource map, And this is available on our website. Go to Business Development Finance Team and go to the Fund It link. And here you can navigate these funding sources on your own. So these are all the different components of a project. So if you can see that, it's economic development, housing, infrastructure planning, all of these different components that might go into one project. You can click through these on your own and come up with funding sources. So as you can see, this is an example, community development, maybe you're a rural community, and then here you go, here's RCA, so you have the community facility loans. So this is version 1.0, keep that in mind, but we'll be updating this, and it is a useful tool. So you have this link, you have a link here to Fund It webinars, and then you can apply to Fund It in that top link. So utilize these, and I'll mention it at the end of the presentation, but our upcoming meeting is June 24th, I believe, and cutoff for applications is June 14th. So keep that in mind. And without any more delay, I want to introduce Jeanette. She's going to get started. So we're going to pull up their presentation, and we'll get going. And I do want to mention, I didn't mention it, please ask questions as they come up. So type in questions on the right hand of your screen. You see the questions box, and we will get to those questions at the end of the presentation. This is your chance to directly communicate with the expert. So ask as many questions as you can. So Jeanette?
Okay, good morning. So I'm going to go over some basic information on the ICIP, and then I will turn it over to Carmen, who will go into a little more detail. So let's start with, what is an ICIP? So an ICIP is a plan that establishes planning priorities for anticipated capital projects. The state-coordinated local ICIP process encourages entities to plan for the development of capital improvements so that they do not find themselves in an emergency situation, but instead they can plan for, fund, and develop infrastructure at a sustainable pace. An ICIP covers a 5-year fiscal period, so this next cycle is going to be covering fiscal year 2021 through 2025. It is developed, updated, and submitted annually to the local government division for publication on the local government website. This publication is viewed by many, including the public, several funding agencies, legislators, and the governor's office. What an ICIP is not. It is not a wish list. So only projects that have been fully planned and are ready for funding should be included on the ICIP. It is also not a funding application or a funding source. It is, however, the first step needed to apply for funding. So one thing we get questions on every year after an ICIP is submitted is, when do I get my money? So just to reiterate, it is not an application. It is something that is used to apply for funding with different funding agencies. So why is the ICIP important? It establishes priorities for anticipated capital projects. So the ICIP is a tool to showcase your entity's priority projects and communicate those priorities to lawmakers and funding agencies. With limited funding resources, it is essential that the projects you list on your ICIP are priorities for your entity. Critical projects that are long-standing, expensive to remedy, and can disrupt public life and threaten public safety are some of the projects that you should be including on your ICIP. The ICIP also encourages planning and provides a framework for decisions about community growth and development. Funding sources tend to favor those projects that are well planned, which leads us into increasing your funding opportunities coming up next. So participation in the ICIP process is strongly encouraged by both private and public funding agencies. Several agencies with funding opportunities will use the ICIP publication to verify that your project is a priority for your entity and also that it's been properly planned and is ready for funding. Please make sure that when you are filling out your information on the ICIP as well as other funding applications, that you're consistent with the titles, the descriptions, and the budget information of your project so they can be easily verified and matched from the ICIP to your funding application. The funding agencies utilize the ICIP in different ways. Some may award extra points to your project if it's included on the ICIP publication, and some may award those extra points to your project if you list their funding agency as a funding source on the ICIP. And some agencies may not even consider your project for funding unless it's listed on the ICIP. So the Governor's Office uses the ICIP publication as one of their criteria when they are reviewing and vetting projects on the Capitol bill. So I actually have the executive message from Senate Bill 280, which is the capital bill for this last legislative session. This bill funded more than $850 million in general fund projects. And one of the comments in her message was, while Senate Bill 280 does much to address our state's infrastructure needs, the bill includes several projects that lack proper planning or are not ready to proceed. It is necessary and fiscally prudent to veto some projects that might otherwise have merit. For these and other reasons, I have vetoed $9.5 million in projects, approximately 1% of the total capital outlay provided for in Senate Bill 280. So I know our office was contacted by the Capital Outlay Bureau, and we were asked to provide ICIP numbers for all of the projects on Senate Bill 280. So it just is another clarification of how important the ICIP is, and that the Governor's Office is looking to confirm that your project is the priority and it's listed on your ICIP. So now I will hand it over to Carmen, who will go into more of the detail of the actual ICIP itself.
Thank you, Jeanette. Again, my name is Carmen Moran, and I am the ICIP coordinator, project manager, program manager, whatever you want to call me. I'm the ICIP girl. But what I want to do is, before I go on with my presentation, I actually want to get out of this for just a second, just to show you where the ICIP publication is actually located at, and then I'm going to go into it later again. So clicking on here, this is the ICIP web page, and you'll see the also the URL right up here. But the first thing you're going to see on the ICIP page, obviously, are the new deadlines, which we did move forward a little bit because we wanted to actually give you some more time to actually do some additional planning and any meetings that you have to do in order to get your projects approved and all of that. So you'll see that we have our deadlines listed here, and then we actually, and we'll go into that more as well later, but we also have the actual URL here. Hang on one second. Technical difficulties here for a second. Are you okay? Okay. Well, echoing.
Let's shift this back.
Okay, I'm going to try it again. So again, you can actually click here and you'll actually go into the ICIP database itself. So if you're actually inputting your information, that's what you would go into. And again, I will go into that further in the presentation. And then we do have some trainings coming up for the ICIP, and they're going to be very good. I just want to let you know that. We listened and we read your surveys. And so we are actually bringing in some subject experts that have projects that they've been successful with. They're going to talk to you about their challenges, their, how they actually got their specific projects to move forward and get funded. So I think that's going to be very exciting. But just to let you know, the Albuquerque training is full. So we do have openings in all of the other trainings. So again, if you do want to attend, there's still time to register. And then you could actually click here and it'll take you right to the registration form. And then a little bit further down, this is what I actually wanted to show you, but all my contact information there. State agencies all actually have to submit their own ICIP, so that's not you. That would be like New Mexico Economic Development, and they actually have to submit their ICIP by July 1st. That actually is in statute. Okay, so the publication, it's very simple. There's really nothing much to it, but I just wanted to let you know this is what it is. It's actual reports for each of the agencies who submitted. We do provide their entity profiles, and then I'm going to click here on the summaries, and with the project summary for each county, you will actually see a list of all of their projects and how much they have funded to date and what they have planned for each year they're moving forward. You'll see the project ID numbers first, and then whatever they ranked it as, and then the project title, and of course category. We did change the categories last year, so we will talk more about that at our training. And then all of the budget that and what they are looking forward to for this next year. And again, some of these projects were actually funded, so we're actually excited to see some of these actually get deactivated. So that'll be really neat. So that's what that looks like. And then each of the detail for the top 5 is actually published on each of these. And then you'll see on this, again, I'm just looking at the county, but each of the projects actually have 3 pages. And this is something that Jeanette was talking about. We do ask for secured and potential funding. And then the potential funding, this is where you might include, say, for instance, if this were a senior project, you would list aging and long-term, and list the amount of money that you may be wanting to request from them. Or say, for instance, if it were a tribal project, if you're wanting to go for TIF funds, for the tribal infrastructure funds, you would list TIF or aging and it's IAD, Indian Affairs Department, and you would list that amount. And actually, just to let you know, with IAD funds or TIF funds, that you do have to actually be on the ICIP for you to be considered. And I know they have made some exceptions in the past, but again, they do really want your ICIP to be planned, your project to be planned and put on the ICIP. But again, you'll see all of the information here: the project title, contact name, again, the total project cost, legislative language, and we do offer some information on how to do that, and then scope of work. And then with most of them, you will see a little bit more detail on the scope of work. And again, it's 3 pages, so the second page would be the budget, phasing budget as well, and the annual operating budget, and then the third page, just some more information on the project itself, okay? And again, we have for counties, municipalities, tribal government entities, special districts, and senior citizen facilities. I'm going to go back to our presentation and just go forward. I'm going to go back into our present. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and move forward. And now we're going to go into, again, just a little bit of more detail on the actual FY21, 2025 deadlines and training information. So our trainings, our deadlines that are coming up, special districts are due on August 2nd. and tribal governments, August 16th, counties and municipalities, September 6th, and senior citizen facilities, September 20th. Again, we do offer an opportunity if for some reason you don't get a quorum for a meeting in order to pass the resolution, which is required for the ICIP. We do offer that for you. So just to let you know that you are always welcome to contact me either by phone or email, and I will talk to you. I promise you I will, and we'll talk about your options on doing that. Wanted to talk a little bit about what the actual sections are or categories. For special districts, again, these include mutual domestics, water associations, acequias, land grants, utilities, flood controls, and fire districts. Tribal governments, again, almost all of the pueblos, nations, and tribes do participate in the ICIP each year. And also the counties and municipalities, almost all, and I say almost because in some cases, some may not have any projects, especially if they're a smaller community. They might not have any projects that are ready, so they may wait a year or do one every other year. But all 33 counties always submit every year. Senior citizen facilities, again, this was a request actually from the governor's office and from other agencies that were seeing that the senior citizen facilities were not getting the attention that they deserved, I guess you could say. And, the projects that were being listed, say, for instance, in the counties and municipalities, they were being listed in the ICIPs, but they were further down the list. So again, with counties and municipalities, they have waters, they have wastewater, roads, buildings, all of these other things that actually were on their priority list. And it's not that the seniors were being ignored, it's just that they were kind of being pushed down the list. So we definitely wanted to see the needs of the senior citizen facilities, and so we added the senior citizen facilities, and this is actually the 4th year that we're doing it. So just to let you know, if you are applying for aging and long-term funds, they do want to make sure that your project is on the senior citizen facility ICIP. And because they want to make sure that, yes, it is there, and this is your #1 project, whatever it may be, okay? So,
and they do award points.
Yes, they do award points for that as well. Right. And also, if you're applying for any CDBG funds as well, they want to make sure that your senior citizen facility is in the ICIP as well. Okay. And again, you'll learn more about this in the trainings that are coming up. So in our trainings, what we're going to be focusing on is, again, of course, planning for your priority projects, the best practices, funding opportunities. We're going to be talking about that. We are going to be having a lot of the funding agencies there. Although they won't be presenting, they will be there offering their expertise as well as providing some actual takeaways that you can take home with you, some handouts and stuff. And we are going to be talking about, how do you complete your projects? And again, we're having several entities throughout the state at our different trainings actually talk to you about their projects and how they actually made that happen. And also, so we're doing 5 trainings this year, and they will be in Albuquerque, Silver City, Roswell, Las Vegas, and Farmington. Again, the Albuquerque training, I do apologize, is full at this point, but we do encourage you to sign up for one of the other trainings. If for some reason you cannot attend a training, because we do understand that in some cases some of the entities have very small staff and it's just not possible, we will have all of the information up after all of the trainings are completed on our website. So we'll have all of the handouts. We are actually offering you copies of the ICIP reports for each of these entities that we'll be presenting, so that way you can have something to take home with you. I know I do realize that you can actually pull that up on the ICIP, but to actually hear from them and have that ICIP in front of you, I think it's going to be really good, because they're going to talk to you about their entire project, what their challenges were, what funding agencies they actually, or funding, sorry, that they had to go after, and how they completed that project. So again, my whole takeaway for you, I hope, with this webinar is to please sign up for a training. And because last year we did have we actually had 498 entities submit an ICIP with over, I'm looking at my list, I'm sorry, over 500, I'm sorry, almost 6,000 projects that were submitted. You know, and we really want you to ask as many questions as possible during the trainings so that you don't get your red lines from me, although that I always say I'm showing you my love, because you know I am looking at that ICIP. And this year, we're actually going to have staff involved in learning how to do that as well. Shantae Barella, you'll see at the trainings, and she's going to be assisting me in actually reviewing all of the projects as well. And so I think it's really important that all of you try to attend the training. Last year we had over 500 people attend, and this year I'm hoping at least 600 or more will attend the training. But you know, again, I just want you to get as much out as possible for the trainings and be able to ask as many questions as you can. Did I miss anything, Jeanette, that you'd like to add?
You know, the only thing I was thinking of is all the calls that you got during the session, Carmen, from the local government entities who were saying, my legislator is asking for my ICIP number. And at that point, it was too late because their project may not have been on the ICIP. And so during the session, they're asking, well, how do I get it on there now? So we're trying to get that word out that they are looking at it. Legislators are asking for the ICIP numbers. The governor's office is looking at that. So just to get the word out that it is important and it should be a priority if you do have projects that need funding, that you do include them on your ICIP.
And Jeanette is right. Not only did I have phone calls for that, you know, for entities who had not submitted, requesting an ICIP number, you know, and in some cases they weren't even sure what they were asking for. So that's why it's just so important for you to attend the training. That way you understand more, because we will go into detail a whole lot more, as well as one of the other things that I got several calls on is to request an amendment for the ICIP. And again, I think it was because, you know, you saw that there was more money out there, and I totally understand that, as well as you had a project that popped up that you weren't actually expecting. You had, for instance, the Senior Citizen Center had their commercial refrigerator go out or other equipment go out, and, you know, that they thought was, you know, good to go, and, you know, they were having issues with, and so they had to add those projects in. And we were applying for funding, say, for aging and long-term, or for TIF funds, and I actually did approve those for you. And I reviewed them again, offered you my, again, red lines, and gave you some feedback on that to be able to make that ICIP as perfect as possible so that you can offer not only a copy of that project, but also offer a copy of the email stating that your amendment was approved. So, you know, just to let you know, that does happen, and that can happen, but we want to try to avoid that because we want you to be prepared for anything that may come up. But again, those projects need to be ready to go once you do receive funding. Okay, and then I just wanted to provide you with our last slide, and that's our contact information. And again, you can reach us at any time. We will respond, I promise you. Okay? Yes.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. Now what we'll do is we'll open it up for questions. So please use the right side of your screen and type in those questions, and we'll pull those up and ask, we'll ask Jeanette and Carmen your questions. So let me pull those up. 1 second. We'll give you a little bit of time. to type those in. So one of those questions was COG/EDDs are considered special districts. Is that correct? So someone was asking that.
They will be included in that category, yes.
Okay, great. Another question was, will you have a special session only for senior citizen centers?
No, I'm sorry, unfortunately not. All of our trainings actually are the same. So, you know, other than the presenters for each of the trainings, but we don't offer anything separate because we feel that you would get more, honestly, is if you attend a full training. That way you can hear from everyone. And we do offer, again, you know, anytime you do have any questions as you're entering your information or as you're going through the process of actually going, doing your ICIP, you can always call us, and we can try to answer any of those questions that you may have.
Okay, and then the next question is, are there plans for any further trainings? I'd like to attend, but my calendar is booked until June. Are there any coming up?
So unfortunately, we only are offering those 5 trainings, but we will have the information on the website, and they can always contact us when they actually get into the ICIPs and ask any questions they have at that point if they're unable to attend. The publications that are on the website are also a good resource to use. There may be a project that is similar to one that they're trying to include on their ICIP, and they can always pull up another county and see how they input their information for a similar project. So there's always resources, but unfortunately our trainings are only limited to those 5 for this year.
And then, out of curiosity, is it just the team of you two that offers that assistance when people have questions?
We are trying to expand and include a couple more staff members. So we will have one more attending with us, and she's going to be in the learning process, but she would be another resource coming up.
Okay.
And her name is Shantae Barella.
Okay, great to know. The next question is, if we have a last-minute project to add to the ICIP, do we need the City Council to approve another resolution before we can update?
Actually, that depends on the project and how your council actually or commission actually approve the resolution. The actual template that we offer is very generic. It's very open. It doesn't say specific to each. Again, it would depend on the actual local government body on how they would want to proceed on that. But say, for instance, if it were a project that just needs to have to be tweaked in some way, that what budget wasn't enough, or you forgot to include equipment, that you would not need an additional resolution. All you would need to do is just request an amendment through me. Again, you can call me, but it does need to go through email. That way we can all have documentation on that. So again, it does not have to be, again, go through that resolution process again unless it's required by your local governing body.
Okay. And then I believe that this question that just came in was from the same person that asked that. Is there a template on your website? Is there, and I assume that's referring to the
date resolution.
Yes, and I'll actually be including all of those. There's only 3 documents that you have to actually submit for the ICIP. One is the resolution, a copy of the resolution. If you're a senior citizen center, your local government body can actually approve all projects for that specific entity, whether it be, say for instance, it's a chapter. They could do for the entire chapter to include senior projects, or they can do 2 separate resolutions. So either way, you can include both of them or the one that's specific to your project. And so that's one of the submission documents. The other is a certification list that you have to actually check off, yes, I answered all these questions, okay? And then the last one is the permission for access form. That allows me to know who can actually, I can actually talk to on your projects, as well as offer the access information to. And we're very, very careful with that, just to let you know. If your name is not included on that, we will ask that a permission for access form be added, an additional one. So again, just those 3 documents, but again, after you've included all of your information into the ICIP.
Okay, great. And then someone did ask for clarification on the definition of critical need.
Again, critical need, it depends on the, say for instance, on the, if it's an aging and long-term project, you know, if you're wanting to apply for those types of funds, a senior project, again, is that project, you know, needed? Say, for instance, if you need that refrigerator, so otherwise all your food is going to spoil. You know what I mean? You need to replace that roof, otherwise the whole building may collapse because of that. You know what I mean? So again, it's going to, I think it really depends on what the project is. And, you know, water, definitely a critical need. Wastewater, a critical need. Almost everything is, but say, for instance, if you wanted an additional vehicle, but you have vehicles already, that may not be a critical need at that time, unless your vehicles are, you know, getting older and do need to be replaced.
That's another way that you can prioritize your projects. I mean, you really want to have your critical need projects, you know, listed high on your priorities. So hopefully you get funding for those first, especially since they could be, you know, they could start in public safety. If you need, you know, you need a roof repaired, that may be something that you know that can't really wait much longer for funding, so you may want to list that as your #1 priority. Something like that is what we're talking about, is just a way the entities can list their priorities on the ICIP.
Next question was, will the matching funds requirement, will that be lowered? Is there any plan to lower that?
So I guess I'm not really clear what that is referring to. It depends on the different funding sources. Again, the ICIP is not a funding source, so different agencies will have different requirements associated with their funding. So that would be something that maybe they could look on your website, do that funding map, and contact those agencies and ask them directly what their funding or their matching requirements are. There is no matching requirement for the ICIP because it's not a funding source.
Good point to make. We had another question about, is there any movement on the Reese Tret program for future ICIP planning with the COGS?
You know, we're always very hopeful that we can improve the database that the ICIP is currently on. We're working with the new administration on trying to make that a priority. So it's in the works now. We're not sure exactly what program is going to be used in the future. Reese Tret is definitely one of our favorites, and we're hopeful. But we are working with new management now, so more to come on that.
Yeah, and I can speak a little bit to that and some of the work we've been doing, attempting to communicate better and work with the different funding agencies, especially DFA when it comes to projects that are out there that are receiving capital outlay, projects that might be receiving CDBG, and just being able to talk and communicate with the funding entities so they can be on the various agencies' radars, so we can better collaborate. Maybe there is a gap that in financing need that maybe a project receives CDBG, but maybe they're eligible for EDA funding or USDA. And so that's really the purpose of Fund It, so that we can better understand the different projects that are going on around the state. And I know that the work that Newmark did, the Association of COGS, on Reese Tret, that with the new administration, that is hopefully blossoming into something else. So we are really optimistic that we can continue all the work that was done on that. And if anyone is unfamiliar with that website, it was researchproject.com. If you Google Reese Tret Project, and there you could see all of the projects, whether it was aging and long-term services, or CDBG, our LEDA fund, and you can map out, you could see all of the projects that were mapped, and there was effort to combine an application to have a kind of universal application that we could all share from. So we're really optimistic, and if you have any feedback on that or insight, reach out to us, reach out to your legislators. Yes. And we can continue to work on that. But that's the goal. That is definitely the goal. Communicate better. So let's see. I think this is a comment in regard to the critical needs definition. It sounds like entities may want to invest in asset management and or risk management plans, and that's a question. Are there additional resources that may come out of NMEDD to help communities with that? And that's a great question. So right now, we don't at the department have any specific funds available, but we do work with NMFA that has planning funds. We do work with USDA that has planning funds. So what we can do is we can point you in the direction of the numerous entities that have planning funds available, and that's a critical piece of that. As the commenter mentioned, the planning piece. This is, as it was mentioned by DFA, this isn't a wish list. These are thought out projects that have extensive planning behind them. So our goal is to connect you with the financing and the funding opportunities that are out there for planning. So contact us, and we'll do our best to put you into connection with those planning.
There's also a $50,000 grant for planning through CDBG. Yes, as well.
Exactly. That's a good point.
So just to let you all know that also.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, I keep plugging Fund It, but it's a really good platform when you're discussing financing. But a lot of times, even if you are in the brainstorming phase, you're not shovel ready, but those projects can still go to Fund It and solicit feedback on where to go for planning funds. So we still can discuss at the brainstorming level in that group. And then it says, will Fund It reps be at the training to describe the process to access other funds? So yes, we'll have a representative, either I'll be there or a representative from the department, the Economic Development Department will be there. So we're excited to do that, and we've done that in past years. We had a few questions come in asking about, will this presentation be sent out? And yes, it will be sent out. It'll be sent out in PDF form, and then you'll also have a link to the actual recording of it. So you will have access to all the information as well as the recording on our YouTube channel. So it looks like that is the questions. And I had a question too. If you all wanted to touch on maybe some common mistakes that you see, it might be helpful to share that with everyone on the.
So we're talking on the ICIP.
Yes.
So some of the common things that I see are, say for instance, on the legislative language. We do offer a very specific, tip on how we want it to read. And again, you need to think about when LCS, the Legislative Council Services, actually puts the language together for your project when you've received funds, if it's capital outlay funds. It's very specific. And so we try to help you with that in knowing, say for instance, your project, you're saying, okay, I need to I need a new building. So what is needed for that building? You need to plan, you need to design, you need to construct, you need to possibly furnish and equip. So you need to think about the project as a whole and list that on your project. So that's where the scope of work comes in, where we actually want detail on the project. Say, for instance, you've had funding previously and have completed some of that. You've already purchased the land that the new Senior Citizen Center is going to be built on, for instance. So you need to kind of include all of that information, draw us a story, not necessarily justification on why that's needed. That will go on the application, because I know in some of the applications they request that, but we want more detail. And see, I saw a lot of that missing. As well as last year we changed and added question number 19. And I know a lot of that was something that we didn't catch until after the fact. But one of the things that we had asked is please read, and once you input all of the information, please read it before you send your submission. And that's one thing that we saw was missing because some of the questions did not answer, some of the answers didn't answer the question. And so just really be careful as you're inputting all of the information. Make sure that you have your budget or your estimated budget in there as complete as you can. Again, just, that's one of the things that we saw. It just wasn't, it didn't look like it was well thought out. And so that's one thing that you really need to make sure of with your projects. And again, we offer all kinds of, or lots of different avenues in order to be able to find that type of information. At our trainings, if I may, I just wanted to let you know what we're going to be bringing. Not only the ICIP presentation, but also Capital Outlay Bureau and Cultural Affairs will be there. Cultural Affairs will be there to talk about AIPP. A lot of the projects that we saw that were coming through us anyway have AIPP or Arts in Public Places attached to it. So Michelle Laflamme-Childs will be there from, I love to say her name, from Cultural Affairs, and Wesley Billingsley, the new Bureau Chief for Capital Outlay Bureau, and Sonan Singh Rabal will also be there talking about Capital Outlay Bureau and CPMS, the Capital Monitoring Project System, CPMS, which everyone is required to submit monthly. So again, once you receive your grants, be sure to read it in its entirety. If you do not understand it, call them. Call your project manager. Make sure that you understand everything before you sign it over. Again, because you are, telling everybody, yes, I want to spend this money, but are you ready for it? So that's one thing you do need to make sure of. So they'll be there. We also have a presentation on contracting with your professional engineering services, or the professional engineering services that you'll need. We'll have vetting projects, project management, and best practices, talking about successes, challenges, and lessons learned. For different project types that include water, wastewater, transportation, public facilities, and senior citizen facilities. So I'm really excited about that. And at the end, we're going to have a rapid fire question and answer section. And that's where we want you to come in and say, well, wait a minute, what about this and what about that? And how can I do this? And we're going to have all kinds of experts there at each of the trainings to help you answer those questions. Okay, so I just wanted to put another plug in for some of the trainings that we're doing.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that was fantastic information. And just wanted to let everybody know that, as mentioned, New Mexico Economic Development Department will be there at the training, so we're really happy to participate in that. And here are some upcoming EDD finance-related events that we have coming up. The Rural Efficient Business Program Workshop this is a program we've had for the past 2 years, helping businesses in various communities all over the state look at how they're consuming energy and look at ways that they can save energy and save money. And if businesses are interested in looking at renewable energy sources, we have been helping connect them to financing sources that exist, loans, grants, and have partnered with NMSU and MNERD engineers to come in for free to a place of business and conduct a free energy assessment. So that's available. If you have businesses in your community that are interested in this program, please contact us, and we'll go all over the state to engage with the businesses. A similar program is available for public buildings. So if you have local government buildings that you're interested in, looking at how efficient is it energy-wise, there are programs out there too. So we can help you with that. Fund It meeting, next one is June 25th. Cutoff applications is June 14th. The next meeting will be in Albuquerque, I think at the Mid-Region Council of Government. So please get a hold of us, and if you have any questions about the application. Our next webinar series will be really interesting. We only have one business improvement district in the state, one bid, and that's in Gallup. And so they'll be talking about why should you start a bid, what are the advantages and the steps that they went through to start their bid. So you can register there. That'll be the last Thursday of the month in May. And want to throw out there as well that our credit enhancement program is actively enrolling lenders and projects. So that credit enhancement program, otherwise known as CEP, that's available for businesses that are trying to get a loan but have a gap in collateral. So this is very applicable to startup businesses, service-based businesses that don't have a lot of assets, and they're trying to get a loan, but they might have a gap, 20–30% gap in collateral, so we can come in and purchase a CD to make up that gap so the bank will make a loan. This is really important to businesses, especially in rural areas. So feel free to get in contact with us if you have any questions. And this is a map on your right-hand side of our economic development regional reps in your area. These are the front lines of the department. And so get in contact with these representatives, and that opens the whole gate in terms of getting in contact with DFA. We can put you into contact with various resources around the state and on a federal level too. So you can access those on the link. And then New Mexico Main Street is a part of our department as well. They're a fantastic resource in helping you find funding for your various economic development and infrastructure projects. And then here's our contact. As mentioned, we will send this presentation out to you, so you'll have all of these links. So I want to thank Carmen and Jeanette. Thank you so much for all the information. And we are really excited to participate in the trainings, and we hope to see all of you that are participating at those trainings to get more in depth into the ICIP, and so you won't get any of the red lines back.
Right? That's the goal.
Yes. All right. Thank you all for participating, and please reach out to us if you have any questions.